Hi everyone, it's Lady Genevieve. Today's video is going to be a spoiler-free review of Season 1 and what I'm assuming will be the only season of the new Apple TV series Defending Jacob. The show stars one of the internet's many boyfriends, Chris Evans. I have watched the entire season, and some of you watching this might be confused because the show has not premiered yet. The reason why I have watched the entire season is because I have a press account for Apple TV. However, by having this early access, there are strict guidelines that I have to abide by or else I will lose my access. So I wrote down exactly what they are so you can have a bit more perspective on what it is that I'm actually supposed to do or not supposed to do. It says the first 3 episodes of Defending Jacob will premiere on Friday, April 24th on Apple TV, and new episodes will premiere weekly thereafter every Friday. All reviews are under strict embargo until Monday, April 13th. As we are providing all episodes to screen in advance of their premiere, we kindly ask that you please do not reveal spoilers so that viewers can experience the full impact of the storyline as it unfolds throughout the season. Defending Jacob is based on a book of the same name. If you have not already read the book, I would kindly suggest that you do not look up anything to do with it, because if you are not already privy to what is going to happen in the story, you might as well allow yourself to go on that journey unspoiled. I am not going to say how closely the show does or does not follow the source material, because doing so would be a spoiler and I'm not losing my account. However, ultimately you are your own person with agency, so if you decide to go look it up and potentially spoil something, I cannot stop you. I'm just giving my opinion and you can choose to go by that or ignore it. As I previously stated, this review will be spoiler free. I will first give a brief introduction to the show's premise, and then I will give my review of it. Most of what I have to say is positive because I thought it was a very well done drama, but there is mostly just one thing that I had a bit of an issue with, but we will get to that in a moment. The show focuses on the Barber family. There's the father, Andy, played by Chris Evans, the mother, Lori, played by Michelle Dockery, whom I saw most recently in Guy Ritchie's The Gentleman. And then there's the son, Jacob, played by Jaeden Martell. Jacob is accused of murdering one of his classmates, so there's definitely an element of murder mystery crime drama to the series, but to be honest, the story tends to fall a lot more in the realm of being a family drama. There's a lot of focus placed on what this accusation does to this family emotionally and psychologically. The first episode starts with the show's opening credits. I really enjoyed the way that they were done. I think the art style was really nice to look at. The way that each image would transition into the next was really well done. Maybe opening credits aren't as important as they used to be because a lot of people like to skip through them, especially when you're binge watching a show, but I do think that it's important to do them well because they are part of the art that you are putting out, and they really help to set the mood of what it is that you're about to watch. If you've ever watched How to Get Away with Murder, I will say that the show implements a similar structure of storytelling where you have one point in the story's timeline and then you have another point, and then gradually over the course of the season, those two are going to collide. The show has a really simple and clean aesthetic. One of the first things I noticed was the color story. It tends to be very monochromatic, often leaning towards cool tones, so there's a bit of a blue tint, but not in an overbearing way. Sometimes it fluctuates to be a bit more yellow, but it's often more in the blue range. Color is a really important part of how you tell a story because certain colors evoke a particular emotion, or in other cases, the absence of certain colors can also shape how the audience feels in watching. So immediately, not only did I notice how the show looked, but I noticed that it was sending this subconscious message of the fact that what you're about to watch is very somber and morose. And you can tell that it's deliberate because when you're seeing a scene where there's a lot of extras and you're seeing what colors people are wearing or are not wearing and the colors of the cars on the street, you can tell right away, at least if you're a geek like me that is looking at these types of details, that that was something that they had in mind when designing the look of the show, and I really liked it. The scoring is very good. I wrote down the name of the composer so I could give them credit. Their name is Atli Örvarsson. They are Icelandic. So I don't know if I pronounced that correctly. The scoring was important to not only convey certain emotions, but it was really an important part of building tension, or in other cases, dissipating tension. There was a particular point in episode 4 where there was a really intense interaction happening, and it just kept escalating, and I didn't realize how much I was clenching until the score dropped off entirely, and that was a way of dissipating the tension, and I went, oh, okay. I can relax now. This season only has 8 episodes, and I really appreciate that more of these streaming platforms are doing shows with smaller episode counts, because there is no filler or less filler across the board, in my personal opinion. We are in an age where content is king, and we are completely spoiled for choices, so really there is no point in watching something that is going to waste your time with filler. And I think that's why a lot of old network television programming is struggling. Not saying that the shows are old, but their formats are old. Everything that is included in each episode is purposeful, and the overall storytelling structure works really well because you are carried on this journey in an episode, and then by the time the episode finishes, there's some sort of intense climax that compels you to keep watching. So if you decide to watch the show after the episodes are all released, it's very bingeable. The next thing I'm going to talk about is the acting. It should surprise no one really that Chris Evans and Michelle Dockery absolutely nailed it. If you are watching this review because you are a Chris Evans stan and you are just wanting to know, will there be anything thirsty that I can use to make edits out of? Yes. But I will not tell you what, and I will not tell you which episode, because I'm not going to get kicked off of my press account. So just keep watching until you see it and you'll know. Trust me, you will know. The show is asking a lot of questions and presents really hard-hitting moral dilemmas that these characters have to face. So they will be put in a situation where they are given what seems like an impossible question, and they have to answer. They have to decide, do I do this or do I do this? It's essential for these actors to convey the intensity of these predicaments, and that's what I think Chris and Michelle did really well. As for Jaeden, I think he did fine considering that he's a child actor, and also when you factor in the fact that he has to toe this line between telling the audience who this character is, but also maintaining the mystery surrounding that character. It's something that's quite tricky to play. The show is very much maintaining the perspective of keeping you more so tuned in with what the parents are experiencing, far more than they are what Jacob is experiencing, although they do show you a bit of both. I was a little bit mixed on how the show approached presenting certain things to do with scientific aspects of mental health. Again, I'm not going to elaborate too much on it, but I will just say that because this is something that I studied so much academically, I tend to be very particular about how that type of material gets not only used in story, but if it's being presented in a way that is supposed to be a bit more academic, then I just really get in my feelings about it, because there is so much misinformation and so many misconceptions that people have about mental health that there are certain things that I would have liked for them to elaborate a bit more on, and I understand why maybe they wouldn't, because of why that material is being used in the story and how it would be presented. But even so, I just really wish that we as a society could be more informed on these things, because I think it would be helpful to people. But again, I cannot really elaborate much on that because of spoilers. Moving on to my only really noteworthy critique, it's to do with how technology is incorporated and depicted in the show. There are certain things that I felt were not completely accurate. It seemed like whomever was writing it didn't really understand how certain things work in regards to technology, apps, and social media, things of that nature. I don't think this will be an issue to everyone watching the show, because not everyone is very aware of those things, but odds are if you are watching this, then you probably are. So I will give some examples of what it is that I'm talking about. I will not be super specific because of spoilers, but you can hopefully understand a bit of what I'm talking about in regards to technology. So one of the things that I will note is that if you have an iPhone is connected to the cloud. And I think anybody that owns an iPhone would know that, or even just any young person really knows that iPhones are connected to the cloud. Another thing that bothered me about technology being used in the show was especially to do with the fact that it would have been so easy to fix this. You cannot upload photos to Instagram from a computer. You can upload photos to Instagram from a phone or a tablet of some sort, like an iPad, for example, but you would not be accessing Instagram on a computer. It's practically unheard of. Another thing that bothered me was there was a scene where something was happening, and I felt like the most logical thing that would have happened in that situation would be for a character to get their phone out. Because when you think about how attached people are to their devices nowadays, really just think about how many times you've seen something that's gone viral because somebody decided that something was interesting or important and they either decided to take a picture of it or record a video of it. It's very common nowadays for that to be what people do reflexively. It read to me like a person was trying to tell a story in present day, but when it came to this spot, this was where they didn't quite know what they were doing. So I don't know if this is down to an editor not doing their job or some other person looking over these scripts or drafts that didn't intervene when they should have, but that just really wasn't quite accurate. Even this has nothing to do with technology, but there was a point where a teenage character made a "that's what she said" joke, and I was going, I'm sorry, are we in 2013 again? This is a very difficult fine line to tread where the evolution of slang is so quick nowadays that anytime adults try to write in the voice of teenagers, and I'm not even a teenager, it's very easy for it to go wrong. So that is something that if you're watching this and you're a writer, maybe try to be aware of that, or just don't even try to go for slang. None of the critiques that I have for the show are anything that I feel undermines the overall dramatic narrative, but the reason that I'm mentioning them is because these little details are things that take me as a viewer out of the story momentarily, but I'm still out of it for that moment that I should be enraptured by what it is that I'm watching. And instead I'm going, oh, come on, you can't be on Instagram on your computer. Who does that? Nobody does that. The only time that I see people on Instagram on their computer is when YouTubers are wanting to take screenshots or screen record things that they're going to put into a video. But the character that was accessing Instagram, as far as I know, was not a YouTuber, so just doesn't really make sense. In general, I think Apple TV is doing really well with their original content. Maybe it also helps that they have not become so saturated that they're just throwing stuff at a wall and seeing what sticks. It was a bit interesting to watch this show immediately after watching Home Before Dark, which is another new Apple TV release. Funnily enough, it's also a crime drama / family drama. If we're comparing those two, I think that Home Before Dark is better if you have smaller, younger kids that are wanting to watch with you. Defending Jacob is significantly more dark and mature as far as material and tone goes. So that's going to be it for today's video. I wanted to make something a bit shorter because my last video was a video essay on Stardust, and I had not planned for it to be a video essay. I just thought I would do a quick revisit, but then once I rewatched it, I realized I had several opinions to share because wow. For those that have been asking me about a follow-up to my Shadow and Bone video, I can happily share that my books came. I did start reading Six of Crows, and by start reading, I mean that I opened to the first page and read a couple paragraphs, and I had such a visceral reaction because of the shenanigans that were going on about discussing brown eyes that I had to close it. So whenever I finish this, if I have anything else to add, then I can maybe do a quick video about the adaptation of this for season 1 of Shadow and Bone. You should also follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Instagram story is usually the very first place that I say what my next video is going to be on. Let me know if there are any other Apple TV shows that you would like for me to talk about, because it is fairly easy for me to go and sit down and watch them. Even if you don't have an Apple TV account, I will say that I recently saw Joel Kinnaman posting on his Instagram that Apple was making For All Mankind available for anyone to watch, even if you don't have a subscription to Apple TV, and that's a good show. I enjoyed it. It was about badass lady astronauts, and it also has Joel Kinnaman in it, so really, what's not to enjoy? I also want to give a quick thank you to everyone that sent me nice feedback about my Stardust video. That was really unexpected for it to be what it ended up being, but I had a lot of fun making it. In particular, somebody left me a comment, I don't know if it was today or yesterday at the time of me filming this video, about one of the really mediocre jokes that I made about Henry Cavill in it. And you know, you never know what's going to land when you're writing a video script, so I just appreciated somebody validating what it is that I wrote, so thank you for that. Anyway, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.